Hello and welcome to the Uncultured Nerd Show. My name is Maeve and I'm an uncultured nerd, which means I identify as a nerd but have several blind spots when it comes to many popular nerd staples, and one of those staples is anime. I have never watched any anime television shows, and the only anime film I've ever seen is Akira, which I watched for an international film class last year. One of the main reasons I've never ventured into the world of anime is I'm honestly just intimidated by it. There are so many shows and movies that are considered must-watch, and I just have no idea where to start. And many of the shows are monstrous in size. I've already spoken about One Piece, but so many others are in the double digits of seasons and would just be too big a time commitment for a full-time student with 2 jobs in the summer. So I've instead looked into anime adaptations with a much lower time commitment, like the live-action version of One Piece, and now I've decided to check out another live-action adaptation from Netflix, Cowboy Bebop. Okay, so here's the thing about this adaptation that's different from the One Piece adaptation. This one did not get good reviews, and from what I understand, fans of the original especially did not like it. So I'm wondering if it's just a bad adaptation or if it's also just not a great show. For context, I know the original is about space cowboys, and that's about it. I don't even know the names of any of the characters except this one's name is Edward and is super weird. So with that as our starting point, let's dive into the live-action Cowboy Bebop with this episode's Unhinged Recap. Or let's not do that, because I don't think this show is worth the effort to do an Unhinged recap, because wow, is this show not good. That's not to say it's terrible. I mean, I assume it's terrible for fans, but for someone like me with no knowledge of the original, it's just not a very comprehensive show. There are elements that I think are cool, but everything is just handled so clumsily. This is going to be a little bit more loose. I'm not really scripting stuff. I'm just speaking after I've watched it. The whole style of the show was very, very off. There was a big style clash. Like, at points it was really weird and out there, at points it was super serious, at points it was sort of trying to combine them. The moment where these two die, it's been silly sort of so far, and then all of a sudden it's this very dramatic music. It's just music, there's no sound. It's doing that thing that a lot of movies do where they don't have any sound, they just have music. It's very, very muted in terms of the massacre, and it puts these two things that are opposites together, and that gives you a very icky feeling because you're watching these two things that shouldn't go together and somehow they do, and you're just like, oh, this makes it just so much worse. In this case, it really didn't work because I didn't care about these people. We've spent, about a half an hour with them. I don't remember their names, and we don't really know anything about them. Like, he's the drug addict, I guess. Maybe he's not. It's not an addictive drug. I don't know. She's a runaway from this rich guy, and she wasn't pregnant. It was just bullets that I guess they were smuggling. It was like they were taking Austin Powers and the new Daniel Craig James Bond movies and trying to combine them, but not really doing a very good job at that. Because that could work in the right hands. I don't think this was the right hands. And no offense to the people who made this, it obviously was a lot of work. There's a lot of effort put into the camera work and the costumes and the sets and everything. But it just wasn't handled very well. And the main problem, I think, is they're really trying to be a live-action anime, and anime is not meant for the live-action world unless you make changes. This just didn't make enough changes. Everyone is acting like a weird metahuman that doesn't really exist in the real world, and sure, it's also space alien, so yeah, it's not very realistic, but you still have to be grounded in reality for it to make sense, and it just doesn't. The only person who's sort of acting semi-believable is John Cho, and that just makes it worse because he just sticks out so badly against all these other people who are acting like caricatures of caricatures. What One Piece did was that it changed it just enough so that it could logically sort of exist in the real world. There was enough of a stretch of reality, but it's still was a bit more grounded. Everyone was acting a little off, but not too off, so you could still understand. Like, there were characters who were acting a little bit more off, some characters acting a little bit less off. Like, Nami was probably the most grounded in reality, as well as Sanji and Zoro. But with this one, everyone's just acting bizarre except for John Cho, and I just think maybe that's because he's the only name and he was the only one who could say, no, I'm doing it this way. I don't know.
In another comparison of how much better One Piece was than this is just in the action. The action in One Piece is incredible. It's very well choreographed, it's very well performed, it's very fast and very well paced. In this one, it's very, very, very slow. Like, all the movements seem to be kind of slow, like not slow-mo. It seems like they're moving regular pace, but just very slow. Like this shot right here, when they're driving away, it looks like it should be slow-mo, but it also just looks like it's regular paced and she's just driving at 5 miles an hour, and it makes no sense. And you can actually see that even in the trailer. All these movements are just surprisingly slow, and I think that maybe they're trying to replicate the anime style, because the anime style is very, very limited frames of animation, and it's mostly background that depicts movement. Like, there's those frames where it's a still painted foreground and sort of an animated background that shows that they're running and stuff. I don't know if they're trying to replicate that, but it does not work. It just looks like they're going very, very slowly, and it's not working out too well. The only bit that I really liked in the fighting was this moment with the camera movement, and I'm just a sucker for cool camera movements. But besides that, yeah, I did not like the action at all in this, and maybe there's better down the line, like they got better, but I just don't want to watch it. Another big thing, I know I'm comparing it a lot to One Piece, but it's just a good comparison. They're both live-action anime adaptations from the same studio, Netflix, and yet one just does it significantly better. A big thing is the humor. The humor in One Piece was like, it was funny. In One Piece, they don't know that it's funny. Like, the characters, they don't know that what they're saying is funny. In Cowboy Bebop, the live-action one, it seems like everyone's cracking jokes all the time, and they know that it's funny, they know it's weird, especially this girl. Everything she says, you can just hear a laugh track after it, and she just thinks she's being cool. It does not seem natural, it just seems like she's trying to be the really cool, snarky, catchphrasey one, and it's just not working. And then these two, their banter is just very forced, and you can hear the laugh track after every single one of their jokes, and it doesn't feel natural. It just feels forced. And with the group in One Piece, their chemistry, their humor was very natural and very real feeling. It just felt like Luffy would do something idiotic and Nami would have her eye roll reaction, like, yeah, that's not new or innovative or anything, but it was very well done. It was funny because it felt real. It felt natural. Here, it just feels like they're reading a script, and that's really not what you should be thinking when you're watching something. That's the main thing that storytellers are supposed to do. They're supposed to make you suspend your disbelief and believe that you're watching something real. And in this, I'm watching people read a script. That's what I'm watching. I'm not watching something that's being very immersive. I'm not watching something that's bringing me into the story. I'm just watching a 2D storytelling, and I'm not immersed. I'm not in the story. I'm just watching it, and it's not very good. This just was not it. It didn't work out very well, and there were some cool things. I guess I'll talk about some of the cool things. So the big major cool thing, I really did like the opening credits, except one major thing that is just a pet peeve of mine with opening credits. Why didn't the names of the actors appear next to their characters? I looked it up. It does not match up very well. Like, I just talked about the opening credits for Tintin in my last review, and in that one, the names pop up next to the actual characters, and it makes sense. In this one, it doesn't, and it makes no sense. And also, I looked it up. The only thing that I really liked about this show is actually a direct carbon copy of the original, because I was just so curious. I thought, this is so specific. This has to be from the original. It's like the exact same music. They don't even do a cover. It's exactly the same. And that's the only really good thing. It just, oh my gosh, it's so weird. And now we come to the reason why I will not be finishing this show. The entire time, I'm just thinking, I know that there's good in this. It's based on something good. And I know that it's based on something good because it is based on something good. I know that there's an original that is considered a classic and a must-watch in terms of anime. So why wouldn't I just watch that? Why would I waste my time on an inferior version when I could just watch the original? So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch the original, especially since when I did look it up, I realized, oh, Cowboy Bebop's only one season. It's not like this monstrous One Piece or Dragon Ball or anything. It's one season. I can very easily watch this. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch the first episode. I'm probably going to make a video about it, and then I'm just going to finish the series, and maybe I'll make a video about it, but probably not. I just want to watch this mostly for pleasure because it really seems like this world is cool, and I would like to see it as the original creator intended in its original format. So that's about it for this episode. I may be an uncultured nerd, but I am also not without culture because I know when something is so bad I should just watch the original. So that's it, and I will see y'all later.